Well, in the face of a growing migrant crisis, it appears Mayor Adams and Governor Hochul are just not on the same page.
Morgan McKay is in the newsroom with the latest on the back and forth between the two and what the political ramifications might be, Morgan.
Steve and Natasha, the city has been pleading with the state to do more when it comes to the migrant crisis, including relocating migrants and forking over more money. Right now, the city is providing shelter for more than 58,000 migrants. But Governor Kathy Hochul is now accusing the mayor of not setting up shelters earlier when they had a chance and calls into question why migrants were allowed to sleep outside for days. The mayor admitting today that there were beds available in the shelter system.
I don't think the governor slammed us.
Mayor Eric Adams trying to soften the blow, but the letter submitted to a state judge by Governor Kathy Hochul's office was indeed harsh. Governor Hochul accusing the Adams administration of mishandling the migrant crisis and not acting quickly enough to accept state aid. Hochul's office also argues that the Adams administration allowed migrants to sleep outside the Roosevelt Hotel for days, while beds sat empty at the city's shelters. Adams admitted that there were beds open.
Laws require us to have a certain number of beds open for a particular population of domestic violence and others.
While the city has a policy that keeps at least 5% of shelter beds open for emergencies, Catherine Cliff from the Legal Aid Society says that not only was there over 5% available, it is also not quite a law.
It's not entirely accurate to say that the city could not have used those beds. They frequently are putting recent migrants in those beds, and there were clearly quite a number of them on those nights.
Hochul's office is also claiming in court that the mandate requiring the city to provide shelter to anyone who needs it does not apply to the entire state. But Adams disagrees and has been pushing Hochul to issue an executive order that would force upstate counties to house migrants. The city has so far relocated more than 2,000 migrants, but Hochul says there are limitations.
Putting someone in a hotel on a dark, lonely road in upstate New York and telling them they're supposed to survive is not compassion.
The former executive director of the state Democratic Party, Basil Smikle, also points out that a move like this would have tough political ramifications, something that Hochul is likely trying to avoid.
It would rile a number of upstate leaders, many of whom are Republican or come from heavily Republican districts, and that's going to have an effect on both her governance and her re-election bid.
Now, Adams today saying that ultimately these decisions are going to be left up to the courts. The next court hearing on how migrants will be handled here in New York is next week. Natasha?
All right, Morgan, thank you so much.